Well, here we are again. It's Friday, August 7th, and we're going to take a look at what's been going on in the antique and auction market as we do each week and go over things that are coming up. It's still kind of quiet out there, I will say, but there are some sales that have popped up in the last couple of days, and there is a lot more coming. I think you're going to see them, as I said a few weeks ago, you're going to see them start coming onto the various online selling sites like Live Auctioneers and Invaluable and so forth. Probably in the next week, I suspect, because there are many sales coming up in September. As you know, there's an Asia Week component coming along, and they're going to have to get their things up pretty quickly to make it worthwhile. They got to get up well ahead of the sales and get all that done. But there are other things going on. We're going to go through some of them. A couple of nice little sales. A little sale up in Maine that popped up that looks kind of interesting with some nice Chinese and some good silks in it. And there's a sale coming up at Waddington's that has a few things in it, but a lot of the stuff is very suspect looking. I'm going to be very honest about it. There's some early glazed wares that I'll just tell you, don't even look at them. They don't look right for a lot of reasons. And there's a few other things going on. We're going to get to a couple of price results from last week, but there aren't many. There weren't that many sales, frankly. One of the things I got some nice emails from folks that saw the newsletter last week with Rosemary Scott's article in it on blue and white porcelains of the late and early Ming and early Qing periods. It was a good article. She had written it a few years ago. I found it online and nicked it off and shared it over here. She's a wonderful writer. There's a lot of good information in here. It's going to be removed by the time you see this video, it'll be gone and replaced with a new article. But those of you that enjoyed it, thanks. It was a good story. It was a very, very good story. And the other thing I wanted to mention was this. This was something I actually posted this on the Patreon site earlier this week. And those of you that subscribe to Patreon, there's a correction on this. This is about the import duty on antiques from overseas, Chinese antiques coming into the United States. As you know, there's a tariff on a lot of those things. And the way it was presented initially was that the tariffs have been removed because the initial tariff load of tariffs expired on the 24th of July. It was quickly replaced with a new set of tariffs, but did not include antiques. All right, and it's a very confusing subject, and a lot of people getting into trouble with it. I'm going to try to explain how this works. The country of import on tariffs doesn't matter. So if you're buying a Chinese bowl in the EU, it doesn't matter that it's coming from the EU for tariff purposes. They were basing it on country of origin. So the country of origin, of course, is China. So the tariff would have been pretty heavy. That's been gotten away with, but there is a residual 7.5% tariff still on Chinese antiques that are being imported from Europe. And it took a while to drill down through it because it falls under the 301 exemptions, they're called. And if you do some real digging on it, you'll find that the original tariffs that expired were replaced with 10 to 12.5% tariffs. But they weren't stacked on top of the previous tariffs. The previous tariffs were removed, but the 7.5% tariff under 301 for antiques appears to be still in operation specifically for China. And if you read here, the baseline, Chinese origin antiques classified under HTS Chapter 9706 are still subject to the additional 7.5% Section 301 tariff, which was first enacted during the initial U.S.-China trade dispute. So there is still a 7.5% tariff, but not the big tariff, and it wasn't added on to the new tariff that was put in place on July 26. So in effect, and make sure that if you buy an antique overseas, that whoever you're buying it from puts on the paperwork coming over, the harmonized tariff schedules, it's called, that you put on it that is antique over 100 years old, using those exact words. If it just says antique or over 100 years old, it probably won't come through to tariff-free. It has to say antique over 100 years old. That's the expression, the legal term that they're looking for. So make sure that's on there. You're going to get a shock when you go to get your package delivered. But at any rate, it's a very confusing subject. I got an email from somebody that was had gotten an email from a dealer in Europe that was under the impression that the tariffs, the way they were wording it, looks like they think the tariffs have been removed. They have not been removed completely for Chinese antiques. They've been removed for other antiques, but not Chinese antiques, it would seem, because of that 7.5% that was initiated under the 301 rule. So that's the where that stands. It's a little confusing. Just expect to see it. I did a lot of digging in Google AI, and then I went and looked at the government websites to figure out what's going on. And this is what it came back with. And I was able to find all the information. So it's a bit confusing, but this is the one that counts right there. The 7.5% that was initially put in place is still there. All right. So if you're thinking of buying something at any of the sales that's coming up overseas, keep that in mind. Okay. Now, what else is going on? Casco Bay up in Maine. This was the company I was talking about. They're a good little auction house. They have a very nice facility, actually. It's a wonderful old house in the center of Kennebunk, Maine, or Freeport, Maine. If you're going up there to the outlets, it's right up the road from it. It's a nice antique house on the main road there. They've got a nice place. At any rate, classic New England auction house. They've got a good sale coming up with some Chinese and some American stuff. I'm including this in here because this is a painting by William Stubbs of a ship that was actually built in the town where we had the auction house for many years, in the next town over in Essex, Mass. And it was, let's see, depicted the sailing past Boston's Twin Lights. Signed, is it Twin Lights or is it Gloucester Twin Lights? Those are not Gloucester. Those are Gloucester Twin Lights. That's not Boston Twin Lights. So this was painted right offshore of here on Cape Ann. The boat was launched right around the corner. I just noticed that. They said the Boston Twin Lights. Those are not Boston Twin Lights. That's Gloucester Twin Lights. I know those rocks. I've spent some time out there. Anyway, it's a nifty painting. If you like marine art, this is a good thing. And now on to let's see here. That's the John Keane is the schooner, and it was built by painted by William Stubbs. But here's some Chinese things that are going to be in this sale that are pretty good. And these look small. I thought they were cups. They're actually bowls. They measure about 8 inches in diameter, and they're done for the Islamic art market. They're Chinese, circa 1800. Two bowls with Islamic writing on them, and the under trays. All right, so they're a pretty interesting lot. Estimated modestly $400 to $600. With a $200 opening bid. And this sale is on the 15th of this month. It's in about a little over a week from now. It's a week from tomorrow. So if you're going to take a shot at any of these things, get them on your watch list now. They'll be on the global pages by the end of today or tomorrow morning. And there's also a perfectly good looking Kangxi vase that's in the sale. It measures 8 3/4 inches tall. It's got a small hairline apparently to the neck, but otherwise it looks like a pretty good vase. Nice classic Kangxi design, good blue and white decoration on it. And hopping along over to this, these are some of the silks. There's some nice robes in the sale. You have this nice one. It's sort of an apricot color, very nicely done. Late Qing from what I'm seeing. Very good condition, good color. The color isn't faded at all on this from what I can see. Looks fine. Yeah, it's a good looking robe. And the estimate is $600 to $800, which I think is under the money. It should bring more. It should bring $1,000 to $1,500 or so. It's a good looking robe. Then there's another one here. Now this one is rather interesting. It's a silk damask ground with needlework, swimming gold koi fish on it, and aquatic plants and whatnot. These very nice green sleeves, and it's got one of these very elegant collars that you don't see. It's a separate piece. It lifts off. Here it is. Nicely done collar. And you don't see these very often. They do turn up from time to time. They're mostly made in the second half of the 19th century. But this one is in good shape. I don't see any fading to it. And it goes with the robe. And the estimate is 5 to 7. Again, that seems a bit on the encouraging side. I expect it to bring more. It's already got a couple of bids on it. But it's a nice robe in very good condition. This is the thing I'm noticing with all three of these. And then there's this one. This is a 6 dragon robe. but it's rather unusual in a few ways. The wave decoration down at the bottom is very much in the way they did them. This is the typical sort of skirt you see on these for robes that were done during the Daoguan period. Most often, the colors on it are excellent. Uh, here's a picture of the front of it, and it's got some gold thread work in it, very finely done, and this very rich, warm cocoa brown color, quite lovely, and estimated at again 8 to 1,200. But the needlework on this one is exceptional, so it may go well over that. Then there's a Chinese one of these Republic era Chinlung cups that we've seen that people seem to like so much, with the script on the back and so forth. The mark's upside down, but it's a the typical mark you expect to see, Chinlong mark. Estimated at 5 to 700 with a $250 opening bid. It's already got a bid. Nice looking thing. So check that sale out. There's a number of Chinese lots in the sale, and it's on August 15th at Casco Bay Auctions up in Maine. And then hopping along over to this popped up this week. This is really quite nice. This is coming up at Aqaba on the 18th of this month. And it's an 18th century Imari porcelain desk set. And I was looking at it, and I'm wondering if some of it isn't clobbered. But it's a beautiful set and very rare. You don't see these very often. It appears to be Kung Shi from what I'm seeing on it. This very nice honeycomb pattern and so forth, but some of the enamels look like they were clobbered and added later. And there's the name of the previous owner, I guess. But a pretty unusual thing. It was probably shipped to Europe originally, and that's where the clobbering was done. But it's a heck of a nice example, and it's only got 10 people watching it, and it's been online now for a few days. I was kind of surprised. It's a rare thing. And the estimate is 1 to 2,000 with a $500 opening bid. If you like clobberwares and you like rare form Kung Shi pieces, this is a rare form, and it's pretty good size. It measures, I think it was 8 inches, 8 1/4 by 8 1/4 inches. So it's not 2 inches wide. It's a nice size to put on a desk or a table. It would look great on an office desk. Wouldn't that be nice in your office? And then over this is Tenmoku has a sale coming up, and they've got some pieces in here that I'm not very convinced about, but they also have some pretty good other pieces. This is one of them. Transitional period. They're calling it Qing. I think it looks transitional to me. Brush pot. And this looks like a real one to me. It's got the on-wire decoration at the bottom. This looks very, very good. The way the grasses are drawn, the way the figures are drawn, the way the bamboo trees are executed. And then, of course, there's some on-wire up at the top again. And if you flip the thing over and work your way through, there's quite a few photos. They're pretty generous with photos on their sales. There's the interior of it. There's the bottom of it. And that looks pretty straight up to me. That looks like it's probably okay as far as the transitional piece goes. They're just dating it as I think early Qing or Qing, which is fair enough. They don't have to get it exact, but expect this to bring a lot more than $600 to $800. All right, I suspect it will probably bring several thousand, if not more. All right. And then over to there's a bunch of nice little teapots in here. The one that caught my eye in here was this a catagon, these puzzle pots that's done in Famille Rose export enamels with a blue enamel ground around the outside, and then of course the flowers and insects and so forth. The handle and spout arrangement's a bit unusual on it, but it's awfully nice. Looks like a pretty good thing. And then you have 3 other 18th century teapots that go with it. So if you're a teapot buyer for unusual forms like the catagon and then these other pieces, this is a lot worth going after. The teapots all look to be quite well done. They like the catagon. There you go. There you go. Okay, it's either late 19th or Republic period. There it is. It's got China stamped on it. They were still making them then, so that's fair enough. And I thought might be late Qing. It could have been made, well, it could be still late Qing because they started putting the China marks on before the end of the Qing dynasty. It was in 1895 they started putting it in. And I suspect it was probably made just shortly after that, with that oval mark, the way it was used. The estimate is only $200 or $300 with a $100 opening bid. And this sale is on the 18th at Tenmoku. They're in New Jersey, I believe. New Jersey, Fairfield, New Jersey. And then hopping along over to this, there's another blue and white pot. This one, I believe they dated properly. They called it 17th century. This is a rather nice one, a footed brush pot. Very nice, soft, looks like soft blue decoration on it. It looks absolutely fine from what I can see of it. There's a little bit of minor discoloration up here. There's some yellowing. Find out what that is before you bid on it, whether that's a repair or it's just dirt or firing discoloration. But whenever you see yellowing on porcelain in a photograph anywhere, you want to find out is it the light, is it something else? Because sometimes it can be. Sometimes there could be somebody moves near the light, something gets near the light while they're taking the photos, and it can cast odd colors. So, so check that out before you spend any money. Ask them if they'll blacklight it for you. But the decoration on it's very, very appealing. I love the guy sitting by the table over here he's got his little basket of food and snacks and whatnot, hanging out in the woods, and a couple of scholars coming in from the side. So he looks like he's sewing something. He's holding up a piece of fabric, and it looks like he's got something over here. But at any rate, it's estimated, again, $600 to $800. It'll bring more than that, even if it's got a repair to it. And there's about 36 people watching this already because they're obviously noticing it's pretty good. And if you look at the bottom of it, of course, we like to look at the bottoms of things because it helps a great deal. Here's the bottom of it. And that bottom looks pretty good. It's unglazed, very, very high quality porcelain, nicely levigated. Clay went into making this, and it doesn't look at all suspicious to me. It's nice and smooth, well finished, good color, and so forth. So, but don't be surprised if this brings, 4 to 6, 5 to 7,000. And then there's this. This is just a nice big 18th century sort of a tea jar sort of arrangement. There it is. It's a very classic type, but what caught my eye was the decoration on it was quite good. It was quite well done, well defined. It's got a very three-dimensional look to it, the way it was done, and it's a fairly good size. It measures 8 3/4 inches tall. Came from a collection in Palisades Park, New Jersey. And they have natural light photos linked off of all the listings. You can go look at it. The estimate is only a couple $100 with a $100 opening bid. It's got 33 people on it because a lot of people are going to think this is Kung Shi. I don't think it is, not with that pattern done in that style. I think it's later, but it's still a very nice looking jar. All right, and then what else is going on here? This is coming up now. This is Tenmoku too, right? Yeah, is a nice Korean bowl. I like this quite a bit. It's about 8 inches in diameter. It's got white clay inlay in it of the flying birds and the clouds and all that business. There's no black in it, no black outlining, which is not unusual for these. But it looks to be a pretty good example. It's got a kintsugi repair in the corner, and the estimate on it is, again, modest, $600 to $800. It should get there quite pretty easily. It's a nice bowl. It should bring $1,000 to $1,500, but we'll see. We'll see. But if you're a Korean ceramic buyer, you might want to look at that. And then other things that are going on. Hold on. This is coming up. Now, this is at Jackson, right? Jackson International. This sale is coming up in just a few days. Very nice looking grouping of cloisonné. I did a video earlier this week on the Patreon site and talked about a lot of this stuff. So if you're a Patreon subscriber and you're rehearing it, my apologies. But this is a nice thing. This sale is coming up on the 11th, which is about 4 days from now, and it's a huge collection of Japanese cloisonné. It is an enormous collection. When you see how many pairs and pairs of boxes, like they're kicking them out like stamps, and then also large lots of bottles. You want to go through the bottles very carefully because often the auction houses, they're getting going on things and they misidentify things. Okay, so you want to go through them very, very carefully. But there's a bunch of very good cloisonné enamel bottles, more boxes, plates. And then down here at the bottom, you've got smaller jars and jarlets. And then there's some fairly good big bronzes here, mostly Meiji period from what I'm seeing, and so forth. And then a few odds and ends, some Satsuma, woodblock prints and whatnot. So if you're a Japanese buyer, you want to definitely take a look at this sale. As I said, if you haven't seen it, many of you have already seen it, I'm sure, but it's coming up in a few days on the 15th or the 11th rather. So plan accordingly. And then heading along up to Waddington's in Canada, they've got some pieces in here that I have some real doubts about. But they've got some good pieces. This is often the case at Waddington's. I'll show you a couple of things that I'm not a huge fan of. The jades, you got to look at them in person. I don't like to talk about jades much because unless they're obviously nicer old ones, they can be made to look old when they're not. But when you get down here into the early pottery area, there's some suspicious pieces. In particular, this bowl here. They're dating it to 386, 540, 581 in there. And I looked at the bottom of it. I looked at this thing pretty closely, and that alone right here, the bottom of this to me is a little disturbing. There's absolutely not a hint of wear to the glaze any place, which is impossible for a jar that's 1,300 years old, in my opinion. And the shape and form is a rather atypical. I just have some real problems with it. And the other thing was this tang pot. There's a number of the early pieces in here that are very suspicious looking. This Sung black glazed bottle vase, I think it's a reproduction, in my opinion. And if you flip it over and look at the bottom of it, take away the stickers. Get those stickers out of your mind. Stickers are distraction. But when you look at the foot and the evenness of the clay and everything, no, this is not a 1,000-year-old jar. Just isn't. All right. But that said, there are a couple of lots in here that you might want to pay attention to. One of them is this screen. It's it's a hard stone screen, marble with inclusions in it. It's late Qing probably. Might be Republic. They dated it as late Qing to Republic. I'm not going to argue too much with that. Nice looking stand, a beautifully done, sort of one of these dreamy landscape marble scenes. The back of it looks fine. There's some legitimate looking shrinkage in the wood around the edges here that you can see, and so forth. There's some signs of age here. I don't think it's horribly old. I don't think it's 18th century or anything, but I think it's a perfectly good screen. And the estimate seems pretty reasonable. 8 to 1,200 Canadian, which is basically 5 to 900 US. And it measures 24 by 20 inches. So it's not bad size. It's a nice stable screen, good display object. The shipping won't be as bad as coming from Europe. But check out the Canadian tariffs. I don't know what their deal is right now. I know on I think antiques are exempt from there pretty much, but the Chinese tariff still is in effect, of course. But there is a rather heavy tariff on other things, so it's like 50%. So check that out. But check it out anyway. You can ask them. And then there's this very nice Juan Wally seal chest. This is a nice box. To me, it looks more likely to be an early 19th century one than an 18th century one. The way the corners are done, the way the overall layout of the thing, the way the base is done, it's a bit simplified. It's a nice box though, and I think their estimate is very, very, very reasonable on it. Beautiful figuring in the wood. It doesn't look to have any damage to it. The hinges haven't been snapped off back here. You always want to check on the backs of these things where they have hinge tops that they haven't been snapped, because it's so easy to let them go, and they do a lot of damage when they break. The estimate on this is 1,000 or 1,000. Well, the estimate is 3,000 to 5,000 Canadian, which is 2,200 to 3,800, 4,000 U.S. currency, which is probably in line. I think that's a reasonable estimate. And if you're a Japanese buyer, pay attention here. This is an interesting lot. I don't know who does their Japanese stuff, but you'll notice right in the middle, there's one of these very rare Arita rabbit hair dishes here in the middle. And then there's some very interesting sort of Nabashima looking plates down below it. You've got these shaped bowls on the right. You've got some early pieces up here, and you've got this rather nice looking grouping of mortals here. This one looks Chinese, though. I'm wondering if they mixed in a few Chinese things. That might be Japanese, done in the Chinese taste, too. You have to see the bottom of it to go over it. But it's a pretty good lot. And the estimate is not very much, 600 to 800 Canadian, or roughly $300 to $500 US, right around there. That's a nice lot for that kind of money. If you're a Japanese Arita collector, you want to get some more pictures because they were very stingy on the photographs here. And let's see here. There's no link to any other images. And you need to see what these other pieces are that are buried under here. I think it's really dumb the way they did this, frankly. This is not a way to display a listing for an auction. You got to take the effort to open it up and let people see it, because they obviously don't have somebody who knows a great deal about Japanese stuff at this auction house. And they could very easily bury some very good 17th and early 18th century pieces in this stack, thinking that they are Meiji period copies, and so forth, because that happens a lot. We see that a lot on listings. There was that plate just a week ago that sold with the brown dressing on the rim and the twin fish. It was a 17th century plate, and the auction house listed it as Meiji to Taisho period or something, and they were off by a couple of hundred years. So you really, if you're a Japanese collector, you really have to look at the things yourself. And then there's this. This is quite nice. It's a ballasted jar, Kangxi period, deer and crane pattern. This is a very nice jar. They actually have it featured on the sale, but it's beautifully done. There's the deer, there's the crane, there's another crane over there. It's an unusual pattern. This wonderfully done pine tree, this big voluminous pine tree, plopped down in the middle of it, nicely filled in. The bottom of it looks absolutely fine. Here's a picture of the foot rim. Looks okay to me. I think it's a nice jar. It's a very, very attractive jar, and it's decent size. It measures a little over 13 inches in height. It has no lid, unfortunately. The estimate is 4,000 to 6,000 Canadian, which is somewhere in the $3,500 to $4,800 range in U.S. currency, which is probably within range. That's probably okay. Right now, it's got no bids on it yet, from that I can see. And this is not on Live Auctioneers, so don't look there. For some reason, Waddington's doesn't use Live Auctioneers anymore, which I don't know why exactly. Probably to save some money, but I don't think Invaluable has the reach that Live Auctioneers has, so I'm kind of mystified as to why they got rid of Live Auctioneers and not gotten rid of Invaluable. But maybe they have more overseas buyers, because Invaluable's pretty popular over there, but I'm not sure. I don't know what happened. But look, you have to look on Invaluable for these, or look on the global pages in another. Well, no, we can't post this on the global pages. Invaluable does not allow us to link to them. It's really strange. We tried to get them to give us permission because it's free advertising, and they do not allow links to any of their listings, which hurts them. So if you're using only Invaluable, you want them to change that policy, because other websites, dealers and stuff, want to be able to share links of things, and you cannot post a link with the image and do all that on another site. It's blocked. They do not allow it. It's sort of a nuisance, but at any rate, here we are. And then what else is going on? Well, this is a little table. This is up at that Saco Maine sale. I pulled up a couple of things, just extra odds and ends. And then there's this. This sold last week. I wanted to point this out. This was at Stair Gallery. And these 4 pith paintings of butterflies sold for $1,100 plus the buyer's premium. Nicely framed, I will say that. And what was very interesting was, in the same week, over at, I'm going to pull this up, that same week at Druitt's in the UK, they had 2 butterfly paintings that I think were better, frankly, better quality, I think, extremely finely done. Hold on, we'll get to them in a second. And I want to compare these side by side. You'll see what I'm saying. These are the ones that sold at Stair. They were perfectly nice. I'm not knocking them at all. Hold on. Where did it go? Did anybody see me go buy it? Did I go buy it? Hold on a second. Oh, here they are. They were right at the top of the page. There they are. These were extremely fine. Look what they sold for 161 US plus premium. These were exceptionally fine China trade butterfly paintings. Really beautiful. It was a very popular subject matter on China trade paintings. And there are these. And these were well done, but the paper, as you can see, had some staining and whatnot to it. The paper is perfect. All right. It does matter where you sell. And these are well done, but I don't think they're as well done as the ones that were over at Druid's. Now, the frame job on them is pretty expensive. I will give them that. And they're perfectly good butterfly paintings, but I was very surprised that these brought basically $400 a picture. And these two sold for around $110 each in the same week, virtually in the same week. And these are extraordinarily fine examples. They might have been slightly smaller, but they were awfully nice. God, they were pretty. Oh, these were at Swarter's, not Druid's. Swarter's over in Essex in the UK had these. So it really does show you the difference between the two markets. But then again, as I said, Europe is on vacation right now, most of it. And when things are on vacation over there, it's almost worth flying to Europe during the July and August months to go to the auctions while nobody else is going. If you had some way to get the stuff back, or you were buying smalls, things that you could fit in a trunk or a suitcase and put on the airline for $100, you could probably do pretty well over there for a few weeks. There were many dealers from New England back in the 70s and 80s that I knew that used to go to London, auctioneers. They would go to London and buy China trade porcelain when it was very reasonable there at that time, and they'd fly back here and sell them in auctions in New England. They would sell them for all kinds of money. It was pretty impressive, even heavily restored pieces. There were four auctioneers in particular I knew that did it fairly often, and they told me they were very open about it. So there is a difference between the two markets. There's a huge difference, and it's something you want to be very, very mindful of when you're buying and selling. But at any rate, those are sort of everything that's going on right now. Like I said, it's still kind of quiet. Like I said, there's a sale coming up in Saco, Maine. It's worth looking at. There's some interesting estate stuff up there, and there's some other stuff coming up down here at Tenmoku. Few pieces. There's not many results last week that I could see. Not much was happening, and it'll be back to normal soon. I hope, because I'm getting kind of bored by having nothing really great or a large array of things to look at. But you also have the Rob Michaels is having a sale in September that we previewed. That's a good looking sale, and I think that's sort of the flavor of things to come. It'll be interesting to see how the prices hold up, because right now I think the prices in the market are considerably softer than they were a few years ago in some areas, especially with Chinese domestic wares. And I think part of that is that a lot of the Chinese buyers are no longer in the market like they were because of mainly for economic reasons. I think they've built their collections. There's a little shortage of cash over there right now. The Chinese GDP is not doing well compared to their historic rises back in the 90s and the early and mid 2000s. So there's a lot of things impacting the money coming out of China into the Western markets to acquire objects. I noticed the big auction houses they had that silly sale a few weeks ago at Sotheby's. I did the video on YouTube about it, about the Stetson hat that they were clearly marketing to Chinese buyers by fabricating a little bit of history about the history of the Chinese in the United States and making it look like were it not for them that the West would have never been settled, which of course is silly. It had to do with the railroads. Because they built a few hundred miles of railroad track, and they were trying to use that as a way of ingratiating themselves, I think, to get the Chinese to buy, to get some Chinese man to spend I think it was 100 to 150,000 on a red Stetson hat. It looked absolutely silly. It looked like something you'd find in Paris, and it didn't sell from what I could tell. I went back and checked later. But that's the kind of stuff they seem to be focusing on today. And it's very, as I've said many, many times, it's sad to watch what's happening to that company. It's really sad. And I don't think Christie's is far behind from what I'm seeing in some of their listings lately. They've got to get back to educating people about antiques and talking about it and doing their lectures and whatnot, because they're cutting their own throats. That's how I see it. You can only sell so many handbags, wine, and T-shirts. You can get away with that for a while, and then the market goes dead on you. So anyway, I find it such a frustrating thing because they were such good companies at one time. Those two companies, and they seem to be giving up the ghost. They seem to be giving it up for whatever reason. Economics, I suppose. They want to just make never-ending amounts of money, which is their business, to make money. But you don't change your business model because things are quiet. You double down and go to work, not become department store peddlers. And that's what I see happening. Combination of liquor stores and handbags. It's ridiculous. All right, well, I won't go on it. You've all heard it so many times, and I'm going to keep saying it until either they close up shop or whatever. But I don't know how Sotheby's is going to stay open at this point. I don't see the money. From what I can see of their sales, I don't see them making enough money to carry the debt load and the overhead. So I don't know what's going to happen. We'll see. Watch the Wall Street Journal for any reports. Maybe they're secretly making a lot of money doing something else. I don't know, but I don't see it in their auction results. All right, have a great weekend. It's very warm here right now. It's about 90 out, and but it's clear. The ocean looks great, and everything is fine. All right. See you all again soon. I'll be back next week as always. And thanks so much for watching. Subscribe if you haven't. Join us over on Patreon if you feel like it. I hope some of you enjoyed all those museum movies we've been sharing with everybody. Some very good lectures in there, and of course the other content and all that stuff. All right. Have a good week. Bye-bye.